Jan Vermeer. B. Delft, 1632. D. Delft, 1675. After centuries of obscurity, Vermeer is now celebrated as one of the greatest of all Dutch artists. He is renowned for his serene, beautifully composed and lit, and uncannily realistic paintings. His subject matter is usually a woman at home in a Dutch interior, writing, reading, playing a musical instrument, or simply posing, or a servant engaged in domestic activities such as pouring milk. He was discovered in 1866 by the French writer Theophile, who called him the Sphinx of Delft because so little was known about him. There are few documented facts about Vermeer's life, and only about 35 paintings are known to be by him. Vermeer was the son of an innkeeper and art dealer in Delft, and seems to have lived all his life in the city. Nothing is known of his youth or training until he became a member of the Painters' Guild in 1653, the same year that he married Catharina Bones, a Catholic. The couple had 15 children. In his later years, Vermeer suffered dire financial hardship, and he died in debt in Delft at the age of only 43. Lifeline. 1653, at the age of 21, becomes member of Delft Painters Guild. 1656, earliest known dated picture, The Procuress, 1662, and 1670, elected hoofdman, headman, of the Painters Guild. 1665 to 6 paints much-loved girl with a pearly ring. 1672, Vermeer's art business collapses after French invasion of the Netherlands triggers a national economic crisis. 1675, dies in debt. View of Delft, one of only 2 exterior views by Vermeer. This picture of his hometown is a celebrated masterpiece of lighting, atmosphere, and almost photographic realism. As townsfolk chat on the quayside in the foreground, the busy skyline and clouds are reflected in the glistening water. C 1660-61, oil and canvas, 96 by 117 centimeters, Mauritshuis, The Hague, Netherlands. Girl with a pearl ring against a dark background. A girl turns to look, almost questioningly, towards the viewer. This exquisite painting gains its effect through strikingly simple composition, pearly lighting, and the muted harmony of yellow and blue. C 1665-68, oil on canvas, 44 x 39 centimeters, Mauritshuis, The Hague, Netherlands. The milkmaid. There was a long tradition of picturing milkmaids in Dutch art, but Vermeer's image is unique in its serenity and monumental simplicity. Sunlight from a window falls upon the milkmaid, modeling her rounded figure with strong contrasts of light and shade. C 1657-58, oil on canvas, 45 by 41 centimeters, Rijksmuseum, Amsterdam, Netherlands. Closer look. Speckles of paint from a distance. Vermeer's paintings may appear smoothly painted, but in close-up the individual brush marks and blobs of paint with which he recreates the play of light reflected off different surfaces are visible. His paint surface has been likened to crushed pearls melted together. Molten highlights evoke the texture of the grainy bread crust and woven wicker. The Art of Painting, The Artist's Studio, Jan Vermeer C 1666-68, 120 x 100 centimeters, oil on canvas, Kunsthistorisches Museum, Vienna, Austria. Closer look. The Art of Painting, Jan Vermeer. Vermeer painted this picture, also known as the Artist's Studio, in his 30s, and despite dire financial problems, he never sold this masterpiece, perhaps keeping it as a showpiece for prospective clients. It is larger than most of his paintings and uses symbolism and allegory to comment on the status of art and artists in the 17th century. Composition. The curtain and the diagonal lines created by the floor tiles help draw the viewer into the composition. Vermeer used laws of linear perspective. He marked the vanishing point with a pin, and the orthogonals, receding parallel lines, with chalked lengths of string tied to the pin. Dark to light the curtain and chair create a dark foreground, which leads into the scene beyond, lit, as usual with Vermeer, from the left. Vanishing point orthogonals drawn through the pale floor tiles and along the table d'age meet at the vanishing point in front of the girl. Technique. No known drawings or preliminary studies by Vermeer exist, so this painting is important because it suggests his working methods. Having covered his canvas in light gray to create a base color, he added compositional elements with white, probably chalk, lines. Features such as exaggerated perspective, the chair, soft focus, Cleo's face, and the molten highlights, curtain and chandelier, suggest the use of a camera obscura, see right. Beads of light. Vermeer had a remarkable ability to create an almost tangible illusion of different surface textures. Pinpoints of light pick out the woven stitches on the curtain. Painting in progress. This detail gives a fascinating glimpse of Vermeer's working method. Using a maulstick, the black stick on which his hand rests, the artist paints Cleo's laurel crown, having first drawn in the outlines in chalk. In context. Camera obscura. A camera obscura, Latin for dark chamber, is a darkened booth or box with a pinhole. It allows an image of a brightly lit scene or subject to be projected onto a screen. This scene can then be traced. Vermeer may have constructed a booth-type camera obscura in the room in his studio. Simple camera obscuras invert the image, but mirrors can be used to turn it right way up. Explaining optics. This engraving from Denis Diderot's 18th century encyclopedia illustrates the basic principles of the camera obscura. Story and characters. Vermeer presents his painting as if the viewer has pulled aside the curtain to see the artist at work, painting a model dressed as Cleo, the muse of history in Greek mythology. The painter himself is viewed from the back, wearing an elegant costume from an earlier period. Illusion and symbolism combine in the beautifully observed details, from mask to map and ornate chandelier. Painted mask. Although it may seem to be a casually discarded studio prop, the mask on the table can be viewed as a symbol of imitation, one of the functions of painting. Depicting a convincing imitation of reality. A mirror of nature was a central aim of many 17th century Dutch artists. The muse of history. This figure can be identified as Cleo, the muse of history, because of the objects she wears and carries. Her crown of laurel leaves symbolizes glory and honor, which will survive for posterity. She holds a trumpet, indicating fame, which can be achieved by the artist, and a book, symbolizing history. A country divided. The age-worn map of the Netherlands behind Cleo relates to history. The Dutch northern provinces gained independence from Spain with the Treaty of Münster in 1648. Vermeer has depicted this split by painting a crease, above center, along the frontier of the Protestant Dutch Republic on the right and the Catholic Spanish Habsburg southern provinces on the left. North is to the right of the map. Spanish decline. Apart from being a virtuoso display of painting, the chandelier may refer to the waning of Spanish power. It shows the Habsburg symbol, the double-headed eagle, but significantly, there are no candles. Vermeer's most remarkable trait is the quality of his light. Thor, French writer on art, c. 1866. Willem Claesz Heda. B. Haarlem, c. 1594. D. Haarlem, 1680. Willem Claesz Heda was one of the masters of 17th century Dutch still life painting, and he made a particular speciality of the ontbijt, breakfast piece. Along with Peter Claesz, he was the leading exponent of this type of work, and the two men founded the tradition of still life painting in his native Haarlem. Characterized by subdued, close tonal harmonies, their paintings can be seen as the still life equivalents of the tonal landscapes of Jan van Goyen. In common with other Dutch still life painters of the time, Heda was concerned both with rendering different textures, distinguishing between the dull sheen of pewter and the gloss of silver. Distinguishing between the dull sheen of pewter and the gloss of silver, for example, and with creating images that were symbolic of the transience of human life and achievements. Heda's son, Gerrit, imitated his father's style, and their works are often hard to tell apart. Till life with food and drink. Heda objects appear almost to float against a plain, softly illuminated background. This still life is a vanitas, symbolizing the brevity of life. All food decays, and Heda's speciality, the mincemeat pie, is already partially eaten. Oil on panel, 53 by 73 centimeters, private collection. Closer ayok. Lemon peel. Lemons alluded to a deceptive appearance, beautiful to look at, but sour tasting. The works by Heda, Heem, and Kalf shown here all feature a half-peeled lemon, a symbol and a display of the painter's skill. Jan Davidsz de Heem. B. Utrecht, 1606, B. Antwerp, 1683-84. One of the most accomplished of the Dutch still life painters, Heem is renowned for his flower pieces and for tables laid with luxury foodstuffs. The son of the Utrecht painter David de Heem, he was trained by Balthasar van der Ast. In 1635, he settled in Antwerp. Heem's work links the Flemish and Dutch schools. After his arrival in Antwerp, he was influenced by the Baroque exuberance of Rubens and Snyders and developed his specialty, banqueting, lavish banquet pieces featuring luxury items such as oysters, lobsters, and exotic fruits. Heem had many followers, including his sons Cornelius and Jan Gibbons. Why still life 7 He velvet curtain, ornate silver, oyster, and exquisitely painted fruit make this a more ostentatious image than Heda's muted breakfast piece. Oil on panel, Prado, Madrid, Spain. Willem Kalf. B. Rotterdam, 1619. D. Amsterdam, 1693. Perhaps the greatest of all Dutch still life painters, Willem Kalf is the most famous exponent of a type of still life known as pronkstillen, still lives of ostentation. His ravishing images of precious objects show a mastery of lighting, color, and composition that bears comparison with Jan Vermeer. The son of a Rotterdam cloth merchant, Kalf lived in Paris during the 1640s, painting peasant interiors and humble kitchens still lives. After he settled in Amsterdam in 1653, he worked as an art dealer and specialized in painting pronkstillen, using fewer, grander objects, exquisitely lit against a dark background. In 1797, Goethe wrote that Kalf's paintings showed in what sense art is superior to nature, and what the spirit of man imparts to objects when it views them through creative eyes. Still life with a late Ming ginger jar works such as this one, featuring precious objects from abroad, a Ming vase, Venetian glass, and Indian carpet, would have appealed to the pride Kalf's Dutch contemporaries took in their country's trading power. 1669, oil on canvas, 77 by 66 centimeters, Indianapolis Museum of Art, Indiana, U.S. Rachel Ruysch. B. The Hague, 1664, D. Amsterdam, 1750. One of the leading Dutch flower painters of the first half of the 18th century, Ruysch was the daughter of Anthony Ruysch, a celebrated botanist and anatomist. Her knowledge of botany shows in her paintings. She had a long career. At 15, she was apprenticed to the Dutch flower painter Willem van Elst, and she continued painting until she was in her 80s. However, only about 100 paintings by Ruysch are known. The reason for this may be that, after marrying the portrait painter Jurien Poel, she had 10 children. Ruysch worked mainly in Amsterdam, but also in The Hague and in Dusseldorf, where she was court painter to the Elector Palatine, ruler of the Rhine region, from 1708 to 1716. Still life of flowers on woodland ground. Ruysch often mixed exotic and hedgerow flowers in her complex compositions. C. 1690, oil on canvas, 93 × 74 centimeters, Gemäldegallery Alte Meister, Kassel, Germany. Closer look. Shiny shells. Ruysch's flower paintings teem with life and movement, partly because of the inclusion of insects, mollusks, and reptiles. Here, the hard, shiny snail shells create an effective contrast with the delicate colors and textures of the blooms. Grinling Gibbons. B. Rotterdam, 1648, D. London, 1721. The celebrated and influential woodcarver Grinling Gibbons was the son of English parents who had business interests in the Netherlands. He may have trained in Amsterdam with the Quellen family of sculptors before settling in England, aged about 19. Working mainly in linewood, he became renowned for his virtuoso naturalistic carving, particularly swags of fruit, flowers, and foliage, which could festoon walls, ceilings, fireplaces, and furniture. The architect Sir Christopher Wren employed Gibbons to work on St. Paul's Cathedral and Hampton Court Palace, and in 1693 he was appointed Royal Master Carver by King William III. Detail of woodcarving. Gibbons's astonishingly fine woodcarving can be seen in numerous English country houses. This detail from a panel shows a complex cluster of musical instruments. See 1690, Linewood, Petworth House, Sussex, UK. Closer look. Airy lightness. Horace Walpole admired Gibbons's ability to give wood a loose and airy lightness. Here, Gibbons combines delicate leaves and feathers with solid man-made objects. William Dobson. B. London, 1611. D. London, 1646. The first great native-born English painter after the miniaturist Nicholas Hilliard, Dobson is renowned for his powerfully observed royalist portraits, produced during the English Civil War. Most of his 60 or so known pictures date from 1642 to 1646, when he worked for Charles I's wartime court in Oxford. The extent of Dobson's royal patronage is unclear, but after Van Dyck's death in 1641 he was the best painter in the country. Dobson is said to have lived a loose and irregular life, which may explain his poverty and early death, just a few months after the royalists surrendered to the parliamentarians. Portrait of Sir Charles Lucas. This striking portrait of a cavalier combines a heroic pose with down-to-earth characterization. The rich coloring and vigorous technique show the influence of Titian and other Venetian painters. Oil on canvas, 45 x 36 cm, private collection. Peter Lely. BSOSD, 1618. D. London, 1680. Originally named Peter van der Faes, Lely was born into a Dutch family living in Germany. He trained in Haarlem, but in the 1640s moved to England, where he was to spend most of his working life. After the deaths of Anthony van Dyck and William Dobson, Lely became the country's leading portraitist. He was made principal painter to the king in 1661, was naturalized in 1662, and knighted just months before he died. Lely painted a range of sitters, among them Charles and Oliver Cromwell, but it is as the image maker of the Restoration court of Charles II that he is best remembered. He lived in grand style and amassed a magnificent collection of art. Diana Kirk, later Countess of Oxford, daringly draped in silk, this aristocratic beauty has the large, languorous, Lely eyes, which gave many of his sitters a similar look. 1665-70, oil on canvas, 32 x 104 cm, Yale Center for British Art, New Haven, Connecticut, U.S. Studies of hands. Lely made numerous preparatory drawings, like this one. He had a large number of assistants who would also have used these studies as reference. Chalk on paper, 38 by 27 cm, Ashmolean, Oxford, UK. Godfrey Kneller. Bielbeck, 1646. D. London, 1723. Born in Germany, Kneller studied in Amsterdam with Rembrandt's pupil, Ferdinand Bol. In the 1670s, he settled in England, where he dominated portrait painting from Lely's death through to the early 18th century. Kneller was appointed principal painter to William III in 1689, and later knighted and created a baronet. Notoriously arrogant, he was also hugely prolific, sometimes taking as many as 14 sitters in a day. Samuel Pepys Kneller has been accused of running his studio as a production line, but he was capable of great quality. This portrait of the diarist Pepys shows Kneller at his best. 1689, oil on canvas, 76 by 64 cm, National Maritime Museum, London, UK.